Welcome back to the Secrets of Superpowers. At the height of the Cold War, two superpowers were locked in a race that could determine the fate of the world. The United States and the Soviet Union were rapidly building rockets, launching satellites, creating technologies the world had yet to imagine. And almost no one knew that the foundations of it all were laid by people who, just a few years earlier, had served Hitler. They were supposed to disappear along with the Third Reich. But instead, they became a secret weapon that shifted the balance of power across the globe. Operation Paperclip was a clandestine program launched by the Americans after World War II. Its goal was ambitious and controversial: to recruit the most valuable scientists of the Third Reich to their side. This is a story of genius, war, secrets, and moral compromise. Today, we will uncover how some of the most dangerous minds of the past became the backbone of space programs and technologies of the future. By the end, you will understand that the truth behind this operation was far more complex than the official story suggests. After Germany surrendered in May 1945, Allied forces stumbled upon laboratories filled with blueprints, prototypes, and classified reports. But among the ruins, they found more than just documents. They found people. Scientists, engineers, chemists who had been developing weapons capable of changing the course of the war. Their names were nearly forgotten by the world. But for those seeking technological advantage in a new conflict, these people were invaluable. From rocket engines to experimental flight control systems, each project contained knowledge that could accelerate American scientific progress by decades. In the American command centers, a decision was made. These people could not remain in Europe. They had to work for America. And so began an operation that would forever change the history of technology and morality. Under the guise of humanitarian missions and repatriation, American agents tracked key German scientists. Their names, residences, and scientific records were meticulously gathered, catalogued, and evaluated. For some, the offers were tempting: new laboratories, funding, the chance to continue research without the restrictions imposed by a defeated country. For others, it was a difficult moral choice. But many agreed, because the new technologies promised something that war-torn Europe could never offer. Transporting the scientists and their families was carried out under strict secrecy. They were not merely put on ships or planes. They were moved in isolated convoys, under guard, with strict instructions regarding confidentiality. Upon arrival in America, they entered laboratories where every step was monitored, and work began immediately. In the United States, the scientists were placed at the heart of highly classified programs. Their laboratories were isolated, with massive walls, coded access, and security systems resembling futuristic fortresses. Even the smallest blueprint or formula underwent multiple levels of scrutiny. And every experiment was documented in secret journals and coded reports. They worked on rocket technologies, flight control systems, and materials capable of withstanding extreme stress. Every discovery, no matter how small, could accelerate the US space program by years. Minor innovations, initially seeming secondary, combined into a complex network of technological superiority, giving Americans an edge in the new race for space and strategic systems. The laboratories resembled mystical temples of science. Silence filled the rooms, lit only by lamps, with blueprints and prototypes on tables that could alter the course of history. Though the scientists had changed sides, Their work remained invisible to most of the world. Knowledge from the past gradually transformed into the foundation of a superpower. And each day of work by those who once served another regime built an unseen shield and new horizons for the future. The first results of the German scientists' work became evident very quickly. Rocket engine tests, which once could carry deadly weapons, were now used to launch satellites. Technologies that had once seemed like science fiction were becoming real tools to gain advantage over an opponent. American engineers who worked alongside former German specialists recalled the incredible precision of their calculations. Some flight control systems could account not only for physical rocket parameters but also for atmospheric fluctuations invisible even to modern sensors. This was the first step toward creating technologies of the future, ones people would not even imagine for decades. At the same time, Soviet intelligence closely monitored American laboratories. Every launch, every new rocket, was tracked with satellites and encrypted communications. Publicly, it looked like an arms race. But in reality, a hidden battle for knowledge was underway. Knowledge that could reshape the entire world. Some of the most fascinating projects remained almost legendary. Archives mention experimental aircraft with guided jet engines, capable of reaching high into the stratosphere and maneuvering at great altitudes. Historians still debate whether these were real prototypes or the dreams of geniuses on paper. There is evidence that some models did take flight, but the test results remained secret. Rooms with blueprints and prototypes were accessible only to a limited number of people. And even American military personnel needed special clearance. Some researchers claim that concepts of these aircraft foreshadowed future unmanned drones and space observation systems. And while today we see modern satellites and drones, the roots of these technologies trace back to those secret laboratories of the 1940s and 1950s. Across the US, laboratories were established that didn't even have official addresses. Some were built in mountains or forests, underground. So outsiders never saw the buildings or the tests. Prototypes of rockets, new engine types, and blueprints for spacecraft were stored under strict security. Researchers often worked at night to avoid attention, and even base personnel didn't know all the projects happening in adjacent rooms. These underground complexes were more than laboratories. They were vaults of knowledge that would later give the US an edge in the space race. Though most details remain classified, some documents contain hints of experimental technologies that could have changed history. Many German scientists never became public figures. Their names appear only in old Pentagon archives or in the occasional colleague's diary. They were shadows. The people who created the technologies of the future yet remained invisible to the world. Their days were spent within the walls of isolated laboratories under constant supervision, and evenings in modest dormitories or temporary housing. Far from a shine of awards and media recognition, some researchers argue that even NASA's space programs would have been impossible without their blueprints. Others say their ideas fueled technologies that now seem fantastic, from guided missiles to satellite systems that transformed the face of the planet. Secret journals and reports reveal that they developed flight control systems, new types of fuel, and precise trajectory measurement methods that later became the foundation for satellite launches and intercontinental missiles. Each of these individuals had a complicated history. They had once worked for a regime that waged war and were now part of American strategy. For many, This meant a constant internal conflict, knowing their knowledge could save or endanger millions. Every project, every blueprint became a difficult choice between science, survival, and moral responsibility. Despite their shadowed past, their influence on the present was clear. From the first rocket tests in the New Mexico deserts to satellite launches that changed planetary observation, their work remained an invisible thread connecting past and future technological progress. These people, working in silence, laid the foundation on which today's global scientific and military infrastructure stands. Among the documents and blueprints, some entries verge on science fiction. Some flight control systems allowed for astonishingly precise trajectory predictions. Others describe space platforms capable of functioning as autonomous observation stations in the stratosphere. Anticipating satellite movements and potential threats, historians still debate whether these were real prototypes or merely the ambitions of geniuses. But one thing is clear: the knowledge contained in these documents could accelerate technological development by decades. Legends also speak of rooms storing V-2 rockets, materials for engine experiments, and other secrets never meant to be seen by outsiders. Some laboratories gained their own mystical reputation. White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico, where early American V-2 rocket prototypes supplied by Paperclip scientists were tested. Huntsville Arsenal and Redstone Arsenal in Alabama, where engines and control systems for intercontinental missiles were developed. Area 51, the legendary Nevada base, where, according to rumors, ultra-secret blueprints and prototypes were stored. Never officially revealed, some blueprints describe systems never realized due to secrecy or technical limitations. And even now they remain subjects of discussion among former engineers and researchers. It is said that these bases still hold records and prototypes that could once again alter technology if ever made accessible. These forbidden technologies and legends remind us that even after the war and decades of secrecy, the echoes of the past continue to shape modern scientific and military achievements. Operation Paperclip's effects were not limited to the United States. All the technologies, blueprints, and knowledge brought by German scientists became catalysts not only for the superpower race but also for the development of space and military systems worldwide. Every rocket, satellite, and drone we see today has roots in the work of people who, just years earlier, served a completely different regime. Without this knowledge, US space programs could have been delayed by decades, and technological advantage could have easily shifted to the USSR. Every secret prototype, engine formula, or flight control system developed in American laboratories influenced the strategic power of the nation and the global balance of forces. Paperclip not only accelerated the launch of the first satellites and space missions but also laid the foundation for modern navigation, intelligence, and unmanned technologies that shape global politics and economy today. Scientists working under strict secrecy transformed knowledge from the past into a force no one could ignore. The results of this program left a mark for decades to come. From missile infrastructure development to the foundations of space stations and strategic defense systems, Paperclip changed not just the US, but the entire world, permanently altering the balance of power and setting the pace for technological races of the future. Even today, looking at modern rockets, satellites, and surveillance systems. It is hard to imagine that their roots lie in the knowledge of people who, just a few years earlier, served a completely different regime. Every launch, every new technology carries the echoes of those secret laboratories, where geniuses had to change sides to survive and continue their research. Paperclip left a mark that cannot be erased. Knowledge that changed the world remains in archives, laboratories, and even in the minds of those who once stood on the other side of history. And although most of these people are long gone, their work continues to shape the course of technological progress, from space missions to security systems protecting entire continents. These are shadows of the past living among us, invisible, yet powerful. And even now, when it seems we control everything, secrets and knowledge hidden in documents, codes, and closed laboratories remain that could once again change the course of history. If you enjoyed diving into the dark, forbidden stories of superpowers, subscribe, like, and comment on which topic should be explored in the next video. The story gets even more intriguing from here.